Greetings, folks. Joseph Kursky here. You know I'm always advocating for you to get out there on the landscape. One of the ways to do that, of course, is on a bicycle. And this is me bicycling around one of the more scenic parts of Chatfield Reservoir, southwest Denver, Colorado, USA. And as a geographer, I thought you might want to know two ways to get around the entire reservoir. It's actually a bit more challenging geographically than it seems. One of the ways to do that is there's a segment where you actually need to carry your bicycle over this unmarked railroad grade. There's no crossing here, and please be careful if you use this method, and I will describe this method and the location in this video. The other way is across the dam itself, which is about a mile of gravel. It's rather sharp gravel, so it's not ideal either, but both ways are viable. To link up with the Chatfield Reservoir, you can go through the High Line Canal trail system, which is a beautiful, wide, crushed gravel system, and the other parts are along paved trails, either asphalt or pavement, except for, as I mentioned, this part across the actual reservoir and or railroad grade. There are some scenic stops along the route, wildlife viewing, there's restrooms, there's all kinds of amenities. There's even a coffee station on the South Platte Trail. This is one of the ways to actually cycle around the whole reservoir. Here I started from the place along the South Platte River, bicycled along the South Platte south to go in a counterclockwise rotation around Chatfield. Now, right at the fee station right here, you don't want to go across the road right at the fee station because there's a lot of vehicles waiting to pay, and some are towing trailers and boats and RVs and things like that. It's rather dangerous, I think, to cross right there for a bicycle. So stick to the trail and go on that other route just to the north of the fee station. There's a better crossing there. Again, there is a crossing, but use caution because not everybody stops that's in a vehicle for a bicycle, but you can get around it, and this is the place along the dam. And when you go down the northeast side of the dam, notice that I deviated into the dog park. Oops, bicycles are not allowed in the dog park, so don't go in there. But then you can link back up with the South Platte Trail right at C470 and get back to the starting point. The other way to do it is you can start from the South Platte Trail once again, and in this case, I went the same way, but I bicycled a little farther to the north. Another way to do it, if you don't want to cross the dam, is you could actually cycle around the whole reservoir, but in this case, I started from Heritage High School. You go along the south part of the High Line Canal Trail, and you get on a series of paths, as you can see here, and then this is where it involves that railroad grade crossing that I was indicating earlier. Again, use great caution in crossing that railroad grade, and this is the place that you do it, and I'll show you the satellite image in a bit. But it adds some length because you're on the High Line Canal Trail for a while, but then you can go, in my case, I went in a clockwise motion around Chatfield and then eventually linked up with the South Platte Trail. So once you're on the South Platte Trail, you can either take Dry Creek, or in this case, the shorter way is actually to take Lee Gulch back to Heritage High School, as I did here. As you can see, there's a little cutoff on the north side of the high school, or you can go all the way to the High Line Canal Trail, and that added about 1.5 miles to the route. That total route is about 25 miles or so. Another way to do it is to start at the same place, but then you're going to add Dry Creek instead, and that ends up about 36 miles. Here's a little bit of a detail, and I'll go into this a little bit more, but once again, I went in a clockwise rotation around Chatfield. The nice thing is if you're on a bike, you don't actually have to pay a fee to get into Chatfield Reservoir, so that's a nice touch. And here I went, as you can see, quite a bit north, past that coffee shop, Nixon's Coffee, that is right on the South Platte, and that's a nice cushy way to sort of end the cycle trip. When you're going up Dry Creek, it's a little bit nicer than Lee Gulch because Lee Gulch is crushed gravel and Dry Creek is actually paved. High Line Canal is crushed gravel, so it doesn't matter if you're on some sort of a hybrid or a mountain bike, but if you're on a road bike like me, it takes a little bit of effort to get up that crushed gravel. Here's a satellite image showing this particularly kind of goofy way to get over to that railroad crossing, so I'm going to go into it in a bit more detail right now. So here's a satellite image. We're going to zoom down to the Chatfield Reservoir area. and I'm going to show you exactly where to cross. The reason why you can't stay on the High Line Canal Trail and go all the way to this railroad grade crossing is, well, there's two reasons. Well, number one, there's a beaver dam that has flooded the High Line Canal Trail right at Santa Fe or so. And number two, there's no crossing at Santa Fe. There's no light or crosswalk or anything, so it's highly dangerous, and I don't advise crossing there at all. So I would highly recommend you look at in slow motion or stop the video to see how exactly I got around in a series of parks and neighborhoods to get onto this sort of industrial area, and then you go northwest on this industrial road to the place where you can get back onto the High Line Canal Trail, and then you cross the railroad grade as I indicated a bit ago. And then you go again clockwise around Chatfield Reservoir. And this is the place where the fee station is that I mentioned earlier. Again, I would highly recommend crossing right here instead of at the fee station because you want to avoid those vehicles towing RVs and boats and things like that. So this is a nice part of the trail right here. You're on pavement, and a lot of bicycles actually take the road instead of the path. I like to take the path because I'm not all that high intensity of a cyclist, so it's fine for me to take the path, take a little bit more of a leisurely cycle trip around there. In this part here, you're going through some prairie, and it's usually windy right around this area, but then you're in the trees, and then you're coming up the grade right over here once again to this railroad crossing, and then you get on the High Line Canal Trail, and then you get onto this again sort of industrial area. You might think that you're on the wrong road, but actually this is a good place to go because right here there's an actual crossing at Santa Fe, which is a busy road. It's US 85, and here I actually wind through the neighborhoods to get back to the High Line Canal Trail. You get to go through a park up here, as you can see, and then you hook up to the trail right at a golf course. So it's a lovely trip, and as I indicate in these videos, get out there in the landscape. It's so important to be connected to the environment and to the surroundings, whether you're on foot, hiking, or in this case, cycling. Thanks. Get out there and explore.